access to it so that you can register and then come for these meetings. We'd also love to have your feedback, anytime, I would say during the session, because people are usually wanting to leave the session on time. So there's no time for feedback, but at any point in time, you feel like, telling us what other kind of topics that you'd like to see discussed, covered, you would like to come forward to, please put it in the chat. You can even visit our website and you could also add things there. Yeah. So I hope the poll has been, you all have accessed the poll and have been able to mark it, because all I can see is just the poll. I can't see if people have been adding on. Can anyone see it? Anna to Jayashri?
Actually, I can't see the poll.
Okay.
Even I'm not able to see the response.
Yeah, so I'm not sure.
Response? There are 6% of people who have not attended.
Okay.
49% have attended a few. 32%, 31% have attended first time, and 13% regularly attend the sessions.
Fantastic. So that tells us that 1/3 of our members today are new, right? 33% almost. Great. So
share the results. Should I click on it? I'm getting everything.
Okay, lovely. Somehow I'm not getting it. If you want to share it, you can.
Yeah.
Got it? No?
No, I'm not able to see it. I don't know what's
I'm
wrong.
able to see it now.
Yeah. Anyway, yes, Reti also gives me a thumbs up. So maybe some of you can see it. So
shall I stop the share?
Yeah. Thank you. So it's nice to know that we have a mixed bag in terms of people who are attending it for the first time, and some of us are regular. So just to give you a brief, is that we started this last year when obviously all of us were thrown into the pandemic, and we're still sailing in that boat. Yes, maybe it's a different wave this time. But in the first time when that happened, all the educators got together and Adhyayan was able to bring all the educators together because of the fact that we have, over 400 partner schools, and schools really came forward, collaborated. The ones who were already very well versed with technology, some were finding it difficult, some were struggling, some were, in between. And that's when we all started coming together, talking about all the things that mattered, what was working, what was not working, and that gave shape to this community of practice. And ever since, we've been meeting twice a month and deliberating on different issues. So that's been, and this is really true collaboration, and that's been the power of collaboration. So it's fantastic. And here we are again in April, a year, after, and we are in the second wave. Nothing much has changed except the fact that we are more equipped, I think, in terms of, some of the things that we have already experienced, but still a lot of uncertainty that looms in front of us. And I guess we hope that this space provides everybody that, a platform for discussion as we go ahead, and not only for the pandemic, but forever. And that's what we're looking at. So today we have Dr. Pramila Kudva, and as is my habit, I'm going to address her as Pramila, because that's what I find that breaks all the barriers between me and her. But Pramila is a very spirited person, and I'm sure everybody here who knows her will vouch for that. Very energetic and an evergreen young person. And who else we can have, today better than her, when we all are feeling so low and sad with so many things going not our way around us. Yeah. So Pramila has been into education since 1986 and started her career as a teacher in an ICSE school. She's been a lecturer at the B.Ed colleges for a decade. And restless that she is, she also stepped into the corporate world. She worked there and then came back to her calling, which was the education field. And she's been a principal of an ICSE school in 2004, and the current position, she is the principal at Pawar Public School, Kandivali West, since Jan 2015. Our association, Adhyayan's association with Pramila, goes back to almost 4 years ago. And Adhyayan has, the school has undertaken 2 of Adhyayan's reviews. And Adhyayan's very proud to have, Pramila Kudva as the lead assessor, and Pawar Public School having had the National Platinum Award. She has successfully led the school improvement program at Pawar Public, and I'm just really, really proud of the fact that Pramila could make it today and be here with all of us. Apart from all the other hats that she dons, she has won a list of awards, and I'm going to read out the list of awards because it's really nice to see the array. She's rated as one of the top 100 mentors in the school by the AIM Awards, the Best Educationist Award 2017, the Caring Principal Award, Principal of the Year, National Responsible Educator. Wow. And she's also the recipient of an award of appreciation to the cause of education that was presented by none other than the ICSE Council in 2019. So you can understand by this, I'm not going to give out everything because we're going to be in conversation with her, and you're going to know a lot of other things that Pramila has done and is doing. But Pramila is a lifelong learner is what I know. I have had several occasions of interactions with her. And I think we would all like to know how does she manage to do that, right? And before that, let's take a poll to understand how we do that, okay? So I'm just going to start the poll, and maybe this time I hope I can see it. And if I can't, then Pramila, you please check that.
More than happy.
Yeah, so the poll goes in as, what is your preferred source to enrich your professional knowledge? You know, we as educators, we tell our children to be lifelong learners. And I know that most of us are also, because we do, role model what we say. So what is your preferred source to update yourself, to upskill yourself? Do you read books? Do you surf the net? Do you access online courses? Would you prefer workshops, physical workshops, any kind of workshops now? YouTube videos? How do you learn? Yeah. You have more than one choice that you can click on.
Workshop seems to be the first choice.
Okay, there's somebody in the chat also putting that in. What's the percentage of people who have voted, Pramila?
Yeah,
you can
I'll
see it?
tell you. Reading books is 49%.
82% have voted.
Okay, so I can just
yeah.
end the poll, so then we can share the results, I think.
Yes.
Okay, I can still see 0. So Pramila, over to you.
Reading books is 49%. Surfing the net is 59%. Online courses 43%. Workshops, which is the first choice apparently, 74%. And YouTube is 43%.
Wow. So there's a clear winner with the workshops, and the others are almost neck to neck in terms of what we end up doing. Yeah. Great. So we have yet another resource for you, and where some of you who have marked in as reading will benefit from that, and who aren't into reading will be forced to read. Yes. Because today we have Pramila with us, who is the author of the book From Chalk to Talk, The Art of Teaching. And multifaceted that Pramila is, she has distilled her experience into this book. Yeah. So we'll get to know why she's done this, what has she done. And my recommendation is, because I have a book with me here and I have gone through the book, that every teacher should be able to access this book, as it's going to support your learning. So we have Jayashree with us. Jayashree is an independent consultant with Adhyayan and a lead assessor with Adhyayan, wherein she also leads reviews just like Pramila. And Jayashree hosts the community of practice sessions. So we have one Adhyayan lead assessor in conversation with the fellow lead assessor who has authored the book. So over to you, Jayashree, and let's start off getting to know more about Pramila and her book.
Yeah. Thank you, Neha. Thank you for that introduction. And yeah, it's indeed exciting to have Pramila, because the few times that I've interacted with Pramila, I've always really admired her spirit, her energy, and and also your humor, your subtle humor, Pramila. So it's really exciting to have you today. So let me kind of just start by asking you, what was it when was it that you first realized that you wanted to write this book? So was it, a need that you felt, or was it an inspiration from somebody? So what was the impetus?
There is a little story behind it.
Wow.
Uh, One day I received a forward from one of my students, which mentioned about die empty. Initially, the thought was, I've got white hair. Why is this thing coming to me? Is there a kind of a message that the student is trying to give? But then I said, if the student has sent it, there must be a really good reason. I started reading about it, and some things came to light that when we move on, we need to pass on the knowledge that we have to the others. And this has also been a part of the Indian philosophy, in the sense that when Bhishma Pitamaha is lying down on his bed of arrows, the Kauravas and the Pandavas go to him to learn from him whatever words of wisdom that he has before he moves on. It doesn't mean I'm willing to throw in the boot now. It doesn't mean that. But what I'm trying to say is, I need to hand over to the others so that they can grow. It's like Einstein standing on the shoulders of Newton. I'm not comparing myself to them. I'm just giving you an analogy. So that's how one learns. So they can pick up from what I have written and develop their own. And this is going to give them the crutches that they can hang on to when they are in dire need of reference. It's not a textbook. So they can refer to that and build on it and develop their own.
Yeah. So I really get that. It's a thirst for giving, what you know. And yeah, so one of the ways is to kind of put it all in a book, distill your experiences and your knowledge in a book so that you can pass it on to as many people as possible. Yeah, and in that sense, your book is a really great tool for teachers, And when I say teachers, it is teachers of all categories. Teachers who are just freshers, who have just started their journey, teaching professional journey, and also teachers who have been into teaching for some time. So it's like a ready reckoner in that for them as well. So it is indeed a very, very great tool. And what's really striking about your book is also that, you have followed a format for each of the chapters in your book. It is, every chapter starts with the key learnings that is going to be there from the chapter, followed by the explaining the concept itself, and then it concludes with activities or something like assignments at the end of it, which the reader has to kind of reflect and work upon. So in that sense, it is in the form of a lesson plan format. So that is one really striking feature. Another feature again is, I think the ease of the language. It's in a very simple language. It has got examples, it has got illustrations to make the concept so much more visual and also easy to understand. So in that way also it caters to all kinds of readers, all kinds of learners, right? So which part of the book is your favorite part?
Actually, it's like asking your mom, who is your favorite child? But yes, specifically, chapter 5 is closer to the heart, because that's the chapter which deals with the majority, the the maximum amount of techniques that I could think of, I have put them all in this chapter 5. And be it gaming technique, be it the um, collaborative techniques, be it the problem solving, be it the creative, be it the, you know, the traditional method to the new techniques. Everything has been put together in that group. And I was also at an advantage while writing the book, in the sense that the new education policy draft had just been released. So I got a chance to read the draft and try and map what I was writing to the draft. So I was at an advantage in that sense. I knew one thing, that I didn't want to write a textbook, because most of the time, as a B.Ed teacher, as a B.Ed student, I know how difficult it was for us to read the text. People with science background wouldn't understand psychology. People with science background wouldn't understand sociology. There were a lot of limitations that came in with the textbook. So I didn't want a textbook, and I wanted something which one could use and refer to it, use it for upskilling, use it for troubleshooting, use it for problem solving, and use it for collaborative techniques, be a facilitator. So with all this put together, I could draw from the NEP. So the NEP helped me in that sense. Okay. And in addition to these techniques, there are some lesson plans, some 20 pages of lesson plans, which I have provided. And there are 20 odd pages of games that are provided. And now my teachers are here listening in, so I can say it with the confidence. They refer to it, I believe, like the Bible. So whenever they are in a doubt, whenever they feel they need to refer to something, instead of Google, the book becomes handy.
Okay. So I want to again dwell a little on the fact that you wrote that, chapter 5 is your favorite chapter, because, it is all about techniques of teaching. So can you elaborate a little more on why you wanted to really dwell on that? And it kind of has 200 plus pages, just that one chapter, So did you kind of identify a gap in this, techniques of teaching, that you wanted to really elaborate on it and write about this?
See, one of the most critical component of a teacher is the classroom management. The student-teacher interaction and the transaction is most critical in ensuring that the child learns. I was reading something hilarious. I believe there are professors who help in creating 4 types of students: sad students, sleepy students, angry students, and students hungry for more. And I think what we need to do is not cater to the first 3 levels, but cater to the last. If the child is hungry for more, the child becomes an independent learner, which is what NEP also wants. Yeah. Not rote learning. So move from rote learning to an independent learner. So if all that has to happen, then there has to be something which is of interest, which we give to the child. So the teachers have to learn something which is going to make the child interested in learning it. Now, let me share another hilarious example here. One of my teachers from my earlier school, she's retired now, and she started a coaching class. She bought the book of mine. She took it to her coaching class, showed it to the children there, and said, "Oh, my ex-principal has written this book, and I bought it. And there are so many techniques there which I can use it in your class." And this coaching class has got children coming from a reputed ICSE school in the suburbs. In the next class, the children are very excited. And they tell this teacher, "Miss, I think our school teachers have bought your principal's book." And she said, "How do you know?" "They used a new technique in the class today to teach us."
Hmm.
So sometimes
Yeah.
it does help. It does help. It brings in an amount of interest in the child.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, techniques of teaching so that we can kind of keep all students engaged is, I think, the most important thing for a teacher to learn, because, it's about being inclusive for different learning styles. Another is also about getting everybody engaged as well. So certainly, yeah, I get that. Yeah. So another aspect of your book, which is really striking, is, for each of these techniques you have varied examples. So for example, say the POE technique in science, and you've given so many different examples. Or for that matter, a raft technique, the role, audience, format, topic, that technique, raft technique, you have given an example of a pond ecosystem. So from where have you got so many, I mean, countless examples for each of these techniques? How did you manage that?
Jayashri, I have no answer for that. I wrote this book in less than 1.5 years, and I
Wow.
didn't take any sabbatical. There were times when I would just get up at 3 in the morning, sit at the table, and start typing in. I I think it just was there. It just was there. The
Hmm.
examples, to get the examples was not so difficult at all.
Okay. All right. So, is it also from your own experience of teaching? So, did you
Yes.
kind of recollect some examples? And okay, yeah, okay. So, I'm just wondering, you were telling that, many of your teachers use your book like a Bible. So, what are some of the things that they've come back and told you about your book?
I think there is a lot of feedback that I've put up there. Maybe you could have a look at it.
Hmm.
That might give you an overview of what they've said.
Okay. So, is it in the chat?
No,
It's in the
it's on my website.
website,
It's on your
on the
website.
It's on my
website.
website.
Yeah.
You can have a
So
look.
I could, yeah. So I'm going to also flash the
Yeah.
website, because this is another interesting facet. Yeah.
That
And
talked about eternal learning.
yes.
Yeah.
So what
Pramila has
Pramila has
designed
also
her own
done,
website.
exactly. So Pramila has designed her own website, and can you beat that? So let's have a look at her website. Yeah. So that's the cover of the book. And you'll be able to see here loads of feedback.
Yeah, but they may not be able to read it. A couple of
Yeah,
lines.
you won't be able to read it, but we'll put the link in the chat, and all of you can definitely access the website, because what you'll find here is a lot of feedback for the book, all the other hats that Pramila dons, so you'll see the kind of workshops that she conducts based on the book, and all her experience clubbed together. So you'll also find that. I think what I'm most kicked about is the fact that Pramila managed to actually design her website. I mean, put on, do that. I thought that was fantastic. What made you do that, Pramila?
Oh, I don't know. One fine day, I said I must capture everything together, otherwise it will just get lost.
Hmm.
So one best way to do it is to make a website. Now I'm into
Now,
podcasting.
yes.
Oh, yes, of course. So, can you tell us a little about, your podcasting and why you thought, and why did you get into that, and how has it kind of helped you learn more?
Uh, it hasn't helped me learn more, but it has definitely given me the confidence that I can tape it and I can edit it and I can upload it. I started off with GarageBand, which comes in as one of the audio software. Initially, I struggled, but now I think I can manage. I'm able to do the editing and in one take I can record 10 minutes of podcasting. It started because um, Last year, there was a cap on how many hours of teaching we could do online. And the socio-emotional development has really taken a hit because of this online teaching. Children are gregarious and they're not able to meet one another. Now, I thought of writing something for them to listen to so that the life skills component is taken care of. I started off with that concept. But now what I see after putting up 14 episodes, the mothers are the ones who are more keen on it than the children.
Amazing.
The mothers are listening to it more than the children. So that's where I am.
Yeah.
Good enough, at least if the mothers are listening and it will go to the children.
So, Pramila, what comes to my mind is you're such an inspiration for people who are scared of technology. I mean, you're in the real sense a lifelong learner, and the general mindset that people who after a certain age are very scared of technology. It's only the youngsters who are good at
Like that.
technology. So you've just broken that. So, so you're such an inspiration. So that way, yes, of course.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, and so coming back to your book, suddenly it just occurred to me the title for the book is very interesting. From chalk to talk, the art of teaching. So, can you just explain that phrase a little? What is it that you want to convey through that phrase?
There was another story behind it.
Wow.
The story is that I was Googling to get the right kind of title. And there were several things which we had shortlisted. And it so happened, one of my teachers happened to come into my office and I was discussing with her. And then in the process of the discussion, this chalk to talk came up. And then we added that the art of teaching along with it. And that's how the name came up. Because initially, when I was doing my B.Ed, it was chalk and the board. So we would use the chalk and talk.
Yeah.
But that has changed now.
Yeah.
With the development of technology, with the development of so many techniques, that has changed. From using a chalk and talking, it is more of interaction, more of collaboration. Teacher, instead of being a repertoire of knowledge, she's moved to a position of a facilitator. Teacher is not needed now as a bank of knowledge because we have the Google.
Yeah.
So teacher has to move from that position to be a facilitator. So it is the art of teaching from that perspective.
Right. Right. Of course, teaching is indeed an art. And, so it's very sad that we just kind of think teaching is just from the book. You read the book and you go there and you say something and come out. But then teaching takes so much of knowledge, skill, and learning, so that it is indeed an art. Yeah, you're very right in that sense. So, what was your family's reaction when you published this book?
Frankly, I don't think my children have read the book. I didn't expect them to either. But it's my husband who has read the entire book, edited it, and to date, every single episode that I upload on the podcast, I make him listen to it, and he says, yes, go ahead. That's when I will go ahead with it. So he's been a strong support right through.
Wonderful. So behind your success is a man. So that's
Yes.
yes. So that's very nice to hear that. Yeah. So and of course it takes two to tango also, you see. So you when you have somebody, so it's always, yeah. So that's wonderful. So Pramila, can you just kind of say what does it take to write a book? You know. So for yeah, if you want to give one or two tips to somebody who wants to write a book.
Yeah. To start with, loads and loads and loads of patience. And a lot of perseverance. Stick to it, not wanting to give it up. Because there are people who start, and there are people who've been wanting to write a book for years, but the book does not see the light of the day.
Right.
So somewhere along, you need to have that, if I can use the word, stick to itiveness. So if you have that, then it helps in not being able to give up. And then you also need to see who is going to be my audience. You need to have a framework, exactly how you're going to write it. It took me some time before I realized that I need to have the key points. Then I need to have the concept. Then I need to have certain exercises. Then I also need to have some snippets and write down to the reference and the bibliography. So this format also needs to be developed. It's not easy.
Yeah.
So once all this is done, then you can go back and forth. And also there is plagiarism, which is very, very rampant. So the best thing would be to invest in one of those softwares. Because at the end of the day, if you're writing a theory, the theory, whether you write it or I write it or XYZ writes it, it's going to be the same. But it will reflect as 30% plagiarism, 40% plagiarism. So that will have to be reduced. So you will do well to invest in one of those softwares which checks it. Because all said and done, this is meant for a niche audience. It's not a novel.
Yeah. Okay.
So there is bound to be some amount which is going to be mentioned by XYZ, all saying the same thing. So this is one other thing that you need to look into.
So I'm also curious to know how many drafts you made before you published the final draft.
2.
Oh, okay. So 2 drafts, and this is the 3rd draft.
3rd was the final.
And in a year and a half.
Most of the draft was getting checked online, you see. I mean, a soft copy was getting checked. But I did take 2 printouts so that I could read it properly. The first draft was in Word format. Second draft was in PDF format. So I had to buy one of those PDF software, which would help me to read and edit in PDF.
Okay.
So these are some of the things. And it helped me learn also how to do all these things.
That's right, yeah. So were there any challenges in the way? 1.5 years.
Something that was not surmountable. Challenges were there. There was, at the end of the day, fatigue did set in. Then what I did was, in the month of May, we just took off for the US. I left all my book and the connected material back here at home. I didn't take it with me. I wanted a break because there was a time where everything was looking the same.
Yeah.
You couldn't edit it because it was all looking the same.
Right. Okay.
So I left it behind, took a break, and then came back and in 1 month wrapped it
up. Okay.
So Pramila, was it that this just happened from the start to the end in a continuation manner? I've heard many a times that, as you said, that we begin to write something, we leave it aside, and then we come back to it. So, did anything like that happen?
I was continuously working. I didn't give it up. But what happened was, when I first started, I started with 100 pages. And I said to myself, oh, this is quite a bit. Then I started looking at it. I said, oh, I can add this. Oh, I can add this. And it went on. I went on adding. And finally, when it came to 400 pages, I said, this is it. Now I need to stop. I can't take it anymore. Otherwise, it becomes a nice big PhD thesis. Nobody wants to hold a thick book in hand.
Yeah.
So I have to stop there.
So is there another book coming up soon?
I don't know. I don't know. A little worried. But maybe I can think of writing something different. I don't know. I haven't given it a thought yet. But that hunger for writing, hunger for reading, that is still there. Still there.
So we have a question from Kavita here on the chat. So what role have the publishers played?
It is self-published.
I
published it myself. Because if I were to give it to any publisher, they would have their format. They would want me to do a particular thing in their way. And I didn't want to get cowed down by any of that. So I published it myself.
And what about distribution? Kavita wants to know that as well. Did you have difficulty with
That's where I suffered, because I should have really had a good talk with the publisher and got into the distribution aspect, which I didn't.
Okay.
And unfortunately, in 2019, the ICSC board, we have a conference, national conference, and the national conference was held at Chennai. There were 1,500 principals, and I was asked to present about my book. Jayashree, how many books do you expect to be sold when you're presenting something to the 1,500 gathering? At least 100 books?
Yeah.
Not even 10.
Oh.
So it just goes to show that teachers are not into reading.
Yes.
Either they don't have the time or they don't have the inclination. I don't know which is more applicable. But with the new education policy coming in, I think they will be forced to read, because professional development is one of the criterion that is going to be assessed as a part of the performance appraisal.
Yeah.
And I'm going to really vouch for that, because I have the book and I have an signed book by the author herself. And it has been really useful. And I was just thinking that if I had to actually, if I'm stuck somewhere when I'm planning, or I want to think of some activity, then I would actually just open up the book, look at the technique, look at how it's being used and use it. It's that easy and simple to use, actually. So that's why I said at the start that I think this is a book that every teacher should actually have. And Pramila has been kind enough to actually sign in and send you books if any one of you want the book. And if you do want the book, please type chalk in the chat, okay? And you can do that along the way before we wind up at 5:30. So if you need the book, because we will pick up your name and your email ID from the chat, and we'll send you the details. And you can have Pramila's signed book itself.
Yeah. So I would request the participants to type in their questions or just unmute themselves and maybe ask and talk to Pramila. Please feel free to do that.
With your permission, maybe I can take up one of the techniques and talk to them.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. And my teachers from Pawar Public School, I think, are exposed to this technique. So please refrain from answering so the others can take the benefit. This is, I have drawn heavily from Snow White, the queen who keeps looking into her mirror and says, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all." This queen was celebrating her birthday. And all the courtiers, they gave a lot of gifts. Queen's birthday, you have to give her a gift. And she's so obsessed with her looks. Most of the gifts were related to face creams and moisturizers and maybe whitening creams. I don't know, maybe to give a suntan, I have no clue. Mirrors, fruits, something that would make her look good. And the queen used quite a few of these potions. And she picked up one of the most beautiful mirrors that was gifted to her. Had one look at it. She had one look at herself. And she screamed loudly, "Oh no, I'm not the fairest of them all anymore." What do you think went wrong? Now, you can put your questions in the chat, asking me questions for which I will be saying only yes or no. You can put in the chat the questions. So, you can't possibly say what was the name of the courtier. I can't say yes or no. So think and ask the question. This serves two purposes. One, it helps the teacher to ask the right kind of question. Two, right now what you're doing is gathering the data. This is a problem solving technique and you're gathering the data. So come on, start. All right, my teachers can ask.
Are thinking
But don't
hats
answer.
on? Are the thinking hats on?
Please, can you repeat the last part, Pramila aunty? Please, can you repeat the
Somebody-
last part of the story?
This is somebody from
Because-
Hasna School.
Yes, Farida here.
Oh, hello, Farida.
Yes,
This,
I missed the last part because my connection was not good. So,
Okay.
yes.
she got a lot of gifts. She used them all. And she picked up the mirror and looked at herself. And she let out a big scream, saying, oh no, I'm not the fairest of them all. So why did she do that? You can ask me questions to gather the data, and I'll be saying yes or no. Did the queen see her reflection?
Yeah, go ahead. I think now we've got muted
Yeah.
the person.
Let me at least have
There's
3 more
one-
questions so I can go ahead
There's-
and
There's
There's
one
one
question which says, did the queen see her reflection?
I answered that, yes.
Okay.
Did the queen use too many products? Maybe. Did the products have images of people? No. Was the reflection imperfect? Yes. Was she being very humble? No. Did she suddenly discover that she has become old? No, no. Was the queen, were the guests waiting when she saw the mirror? Yes. Was the queen using the right kind of mirror? No. Now you've gathered the data. Now the teacher says, I have got different kinds of mirrors. I'm giving you the mirrors, and now pick out the mirror in which the reflection of the queen was not right. Now you ask me questions again. What should be the answer for this question? She had a look at her reflection and she said she was too small. So which kind of mirror would she have used? Now, concave or convex? You are being very, very, what shall I say?
Both of them is written
You
there.
can be both.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I typed my answer just before you completed your sentence. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it was a convex mirror, right? Now the question, to sum up again, you can ask, what made you come to this conclusion that it was a convex mirror? Then what you're doing is you're doing the analysis of the thought process. And to sum it up, you can ask them a question. Why is there a rear view mirror which shows smaller image? This should sum up the whole technique. And you're only answering yes or no, and it becomes interesting for the children. You can put them into groups also, so they can sit down and think and then ask you the questions. Did you enjoy this? Okay,
Yeah.
somebody says I love the technique. Okay, fine. So now,
So
I
if
stop here.
you've enjoyed it, more hands, more thumbs ups, claps, so that we can see that. Fantastic. Put it on the chat too.
Any questions you have?
Yeah, please feel free to unmute yourself.
Yeah, you're getting hearts also.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, so we've noted that we've got some responses for the book too. We'll send you the details, and
Okay. All right, Neha. Thanks.
then that can be done even. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super. So feel free to unmute and ask any question that you may want to, or anybody who's read the book here, you want to say something about the book, about if you've used it, because we have teachers also from Pawar Public. If you would like to unmute and say something, please go ahead.
I want to ask a question.
Go
Yes,
ahead.
go ahead.
Where do you get the energy to work round the clock? And at the same time, how do you retain matter? I really don't. How do you remember certain things? You really need to be very, very sharp. You really need to be precise to hit the question and give the appropriate answer. And that also in brevity, I would say in brevity. How do you manage to do that?
Cecilia, its answer is very, very simple. I love doing what I'm doing.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
love
that's
teaching. And that's where it comes from.
Wow. Yeah,
Thank
I
you
think
for
it's the
asking this.
passion. I guess it's the passion. Yeah. So it doesn't seem like a chore. It's just so spontaneous and it's so, enjoyable. Yeah. It's a joy of doing that. Right. So there's another question for you, Pramila, from Jasmine Shah. Is there any specific section of teachers that this book caters to?
This book caters to primary and secondary teachers. For pre-primary, this may be a little out of context.
Okay. It's the techniques and the other stuff caters more to the primary and the secondary teachers. Right. Okay. So anybody else?
Jankna had raised her hand. Jankna, would you like to say something?
No, ma'am, I just wanted to ask you about the book. I have dropped in a message. I'll personally drop in a message to Pramila ma'am also.
Yeah. So we have I have a message sent to me saying if someone orders it from Amazon, will they get it signed from Pramila?
I won't be able to sign it.
So Pramila will sign and send it to you, courier it to you. I think that arrangement would be better, right, Pramila?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
May I ask a question?
Sure, please go ahead.
Yes. In your with your book and your career and this entire journey, with your experience, a teacher has so many areas to look in. It's such a multi-skilled profession. We have to update ourselves in so many different aspects and different levels. Is there one or two core things that you would say is very essential in the teacher's profession? I know you can't narrow it to one, but something in your experience, from your expertise, that yes, this will begin and start the fire, or is a must, because it's so many things. When we look at being a teacher.
I have looked at a couple of things which may or may not register with you. There is no, since we are dealing with the dynamic, the students who are dynamic, there is no one yardstick. But one thing that I believe in is to balance your head and the heart. That's very, very critical. Because sitting in that chair of a principal, at times you can get taken away by the head and the heart is left behind. So balancing both head and the heart is very, very critical. And if you have to err at all, err on the side of the child. And everything else fits into place. Have I answered you?
Thank you. Thank you so much. I wanted to hear it from you. Thank you.
Mm. Yeah. Anybody else? So maybe we have time for one last question.
There's one question in the chat which says, does the book address any specific subject?
Subject it addresses, yeah.
It's all about pedagogy. And there are enough examples from all subjects. I've tried to do that.
Mm. Any quick tip or two, Pramila, for teachers to use your book very effectively? Because it's a thick book. So yeah, of course, reading the whole book, right?
It's a
But
thick
any
book,
quick tip?
but when you go through the table of contents, it tells you what it has.
Right.
You just have to go to that section. And you see here, it's very clearly mentioned with the heading and the subtitles. Everything is given very neatly with the pagination. So it's not very difficult to move through the book.
Yeah. So that's
The
another
fact
interesting
that,
aspect of your book.
Absolutely. And the fact that you didn't, succumb to any publishers because you didn't want to succumb to any publisher's design. I think people who have got the book and who will read the book, you will be absolutely amazed to see the index. Okay, I haven't ever seen an index like this, which is so detailed that I know exactly what's there within each one, and we'll go for it. An index is usually one page, and this runs into pages. So, as Pramila says, you have to be able to access the book. Another thing I'd like to add here is that the book has process and theories of learning. It talks about assessing classroom engagement. There is teaching for all, effective teaching practices, critical study of ICT and developing capacities, and teaching as a profession. So all the key aspects of teaching are included in the book. So it's not, of course, a big chunk is about the teaching practices, but there's differentiation in it, the assessment. So Pramila's managed to actually put in all the roles of all the roles of the teacher. So I think that's brilliant.
Thank you.
And we have one last question. That's, ma'am, according to you, what is more challenging, online teaching or classroom teaching? That's the last question.
Teaching is the same, whether it is online or offline. But online teaching, when the children have their cameras off, you don't know what they're doing. And when you have the children with you in the class, it's easy for you to do a few things, interact with them. And when you don't know what they're doing, what they're up to, it is difficult to interact in the same manner. So the interaction is that which takes the beating on an online mode, not the teaching per se.
Yeah.
Teacher-pupil interaction, that takes a little beating.
Okay. So, Pramila, I'm just going to reveal another interesting aspect about you. You're very fond of classical singing, and you're a very good singer. So, before we wind up, can we hear you sing two lines of one of your favorite, maybe
I
songs?
gave up classical singing 20 years ago. So I'm not classical singer anymore. But yes, I enjoy singing. And if you're willing to listen to the two lines, I will sing.
Absolutely. We are eager to.
कबीरा जब हम पैदा हुए जग हंसे और हम रोए ऐसी करनी कर चलो कि जग रोए और हम हंसे. This is something that I would want to do. I would want the world to get a legacy
That was, I think, very profound message as well. So, yeah, thank you so much for that. And we are really indeed waiting for your next book. And yeah, so Neha, anything more you want to say? I've been really inspired by, even whenever I've met you, I've, been inspired, and today it's even more. So to think that, just to looking at your energy, your spirit, your, wanting to learn so much. Yeah, I think these are all things that we need to really learn from Pramila. Thank you so much, Pramila.
Thank you so much.
Ever smiling and
Ever-
evergreen is what I would describe Pramila as. And we can see that in the chat also, Pramila, you're really inspiring. So thank you very much. And thank you very much for adding some sunshine today, in amidst all the blues that we are all experiencing and inspiring all of us. Your singing was just amazing. You said you gave up singing. That's
A lot
really
of
nice.
thank yous coming for you, Pramila, in the chat.
Yes. Somebody says ever ready battery as well. I think very well described.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. And everybody, please stay safe and
parting
yeah,
line.
please look after yourself. Yes, parting line.
I have learned a lot from Adhyayan. When we first started Adhyayan qualitative audit, that's when I realized that we have put together a lot of things, plenty of techniques we had put together. What's good, it appeared in what's good. And that was also another reason why I wanted to put these things down in paper. If it's good, then it needs to be shared.
Yeah.
As Cecilia very rightly said, you say things, such profound things, and with such brevity. I completely agree with that. Thank you very much. Thank you, Pramila.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, and have a good weekend. Stay safe and take care of yourself. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks to you too. Thanks.
Stop.
Leave.
Yeah, just trying to stop the streaming.